In the bustling city of Italy, where every corner of the streets flaunted the colors, lights, and sounds of the carnival celebrations, and people rejoiced in dazzling costumes and extravagant masks, there lived a man named Fortunato whose pride and arrogance had wounded the hearts of many friends and acquaintances. He always considered himself above others and never missed a chance to belittle or mock those around him. Even the smallest success of others became an opportunity for him to flaunt his own pride through sarcasm or biting remarks. Yet none of these behaviors, even at the height of their insolence, mattered to Montresor until the day a personal insult struck at his self-respect and ignited the final spark of vengeance in his mind. This insult, small yet powerful, was like a stone cast upon a fragile glass, one crack that nothing could ever mend again. Montresor, a man with a precise, calculating, and cold mind, resolved to take his revenge not through open violence, nor shouts and rage, but with subtle deception and a mysterious smile. He devised a plan in which every move was deliberate, every word carried hidden intent, and nothing was left to chance. His mind worked like a complex and flawless clock. Every detail, every step, even Fortunato's possible reactions had their place in his calculations. He knew that true revenge had to be silent, precise, and mercilessly complete, and that not a single moment of his intelligence or patience should go to waste. Amid the clamor of the carnival, Montresor found Fortunato, drunk, dressed as a jester with a bell-tipped cap whose every step sent ringing tones through the air like a deadly warning. Fortunato's drunkenness not only failed to diminish his arrogance, but also blinded him to any sense of danger. With calmness and a cold smile that held no sign of friendship or true intention, Montresor told Fortunato that he had a rare and valuable wine, Amontillado, but was uncertain of its authenticity. That small hint was enough to make Fortunato's eyes shine with greed and excitement. Without the slightest doubt or hesitation, he surrendered himself to Montresor's trap, and with each step toward the catacombs, he gradually distanced himself from the bright and boisterous world of the carnival above. The two men walked quietly through the twisting, dark corridors beneath Montresor's home. The walls were coated with damp saltpeter, and the ground was paved with scattered human bones from those buried there long ago. Each step drew Fortunato deeper into darkness, darkness that separated him not only from the light of day, but from every feeling of safety as well. Every corner of the catacombs held shadows that seemed to carry the silent howls of the past, shadows that even in his drunken state Fortunato could not ignore. But his pride and greed for the rare wine stripped him of all sense of fear. With slow, calculated steps, Montresor guided Fortunato to a dark recess. Suddenly, he chained his hand to the wall, and Fortunato's drunkenness could no longer save him. Then Montresor began to build a wall of stone and mortar. Each row of stones, each touch of mortar, drove Fortunato further into darkness and terror. His moans and cries were weak at first, but as the wall grew higher and the enclosed space tightened, his panic intensified. The ringing bells of his cap echoed through the deathly silence of the catacombs, like the final laughter of a jester unaware that the show had reached its end. Time passed as the wall took shape. With chilling calm, Montresor placed stone upon stone and sealed them with mortar. Fortunato's desperate attempts to escape, his pleas, his frantic cries, none of it mattered. With each layer, the space grew colder, darker, and more suffocating, until even human voices seemed to vanish within it. When the final stone was set in place, the wall was complete, and absolute silence reigned over the catacombs. Fortunato was forever entombed in darkness and death, and only the memory of his jingling bells remained in Montresor's mind, an echo of the pride and foolishness that led him to his doom. Years passed, 50 in all, and no living soul ever learned the secret of those catacombs. The vengeance was complete, and only one truth remained. No one who injures me shall go unpunished and live to tell of it. Montresor, with his cold, calculating, and merciless mind, had delivered justice in his own way. Yet beneath the silence and darkness, the heavy shadow of revenge lingered still, proof that sometimes vengeance is so perfect that even its memory endures through the years, and no one dares draw near the truth. The smell of death, the piles of bones, and the absolute silence preserved a scene of ruthless and flawless justice. Justice that neither law nor time, nor any human hand could ever reclaim or forget. By the way, if you're interested in summaries and analyses of great world novels, especially the works of Edgar Allan Poe, make sure to subscribe. The links to more Poe content are in the description, so don't forget to check them out, listen, and enjoy. Psychological and character analysis of the Cask of Amontillado. The story revolves around two central characters, Montresor and Fortunato. Each represents a distinct psychological spectrum, and their interaction introduces us to the dark dimensions of the human mind and the complex realities of pride and revenge. Montresor, a cold and calculating mind. Montresor is a man who leaves nothing to chance. Every word, every step, and even Fortunato's possible reactions are planned in advance. This precision shows that he seeks full control over his surroundings and the people within them. He is utterly ruthless. Even when Fortunato begs or cries out, Montresor maintains complete composure and carries out his revenge without any sense of guilt. His primary motivation is an old insult and an intense desire for revenge, an obsession that lingers in his mind for years and deprives him of psychological peace. From a psychological perspective, Montresor displays traits of psychopathy and antisocial personality disorder, lack of empathy, a need for domination, and a sense of satisfaction from having absolute control over his victim. His concept of justice is entirely personal and distorted. He sees himself as judge and executioner, acknowledging no law above his own sense of injury. Fortunato, pride and vulnerability. Fortunato, by contrast, is proud and self-important. He considers himself superior to others, and that pride blinds him to warnings or signs of danger, leading him straight into Montresor's trap. His eagerness to acquire the Amontillado, even when he is clearly in danger, clouds his judgment and leaves him vulnerable. His drunkenness and arrogance form a mixture of ignorance and psychological weakness that ultimately turns him into the perfect victim for Montresor's carefully crafted scheme. His reactions, struggling, begging, screaming, symbolize the extreme fear and anxiety experienced when confronted with imminent danger, yet he lacks the psychological strength to resist. Interplay of characters, power and domination. Montresor, fully aware of Fortunato's weaknesses, his pride, greed, and passion for rare wine, uses them to lure him into the trap. Their interaction is an example of psychological dominance and the exploitation of another's vulnerabilities. For Montresor, Revenge is not merely an act of violence. It is a means of executing personal justice and expressing his internal psychological state. The sense of absolute power and control he experiences is a key psychological component of his character. Symbols and environmental psychology. The catacombs and darkness. Symbols of the unconscious mind and its repressed layers. Montresor draws his victim into this dark space, demonstrating his total control over another's psyche and fate. The stones and wall signify finality, closure, and the irreversible completion of revenge. The jester's bells and costume highlight the contrast between outward joy and inner horror. Fortunato, dressed for celebration and laughter, is oblivious to his tragic end, a symbol of human ignorance in the face of real danger. Conclusion. Montresor, psychopathic, cold, and controlling, views revenge as a tool of personal justice and empowerment. Fortunato, proud and vulnerable, his arrogance and greed lead to his destruction. Psychological message. The story reveals how human pride, greed, and ignorance collapse before the calculating mind of a merciless avenger. It also suggests that suppressed emotions and personal motivations can manifest in actions that are brutally complete and psychologically devastating.